Welcome to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast, episode 128.
Welcome to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast with your host, Jack Mountain Bushcraft School founder and Master Main Guide, Tim Smith.
I'm your host, Tim Smith. I'm a registered Master Main Guide and have been a full-time outdoor instructor and guide since founding the Jack Mountain Bushcraft School in 1999. We help people become more skilled, more knowledgeable, more experienced, and more confident in the natural world through our bushcraft and guide training semester programs and multi-week canoe and snowshoe expeditions. You can check out the show notes to all of our podcasts at blog.jackmtn.com. If you're interested in learning more about our college-accredited and GI Bill-approved programs, visit the Jack Mountain Bushcraft School on the web at jackmtn.com. And check out our online network and digital learning academy at bushcraftschool.com. Hello and welcome back to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Smith. I'm here with Jesse Grindler. How's it going today, Jesse?
It's going good. Yeah.
Good. It is Thursday, July 11th. We're recording this. Last night we had the remnants of a hurricane come through and dumped a couple inches of rain on us. We were supposed to get an additional inch of rain today, so we made the executive decision to cancel class for the day on week 4 of the Wilderness Bushcraft semester. Cancel class on Thursday and then make Saturday a class day. Figured we would be more productive when we're not battling inches and inches of rain. But what always seems to happen whenever we cancel class based on the weather changes. So it's still very cloudy and overcast, but that extra inch of rain that we were supposed to get today has not materialized yet. So it's mid-morning.
It's probably going to come tomorrow.
Yeah, now it'll come tomorrow and ruin our plans. But we did lose power this morning. Like our whole road, I don't know, I haven't been out away from here, so everybody lost electricity. So we're doing this old school podcast style, like they used to do podcasts in the 1800s. So we've got kerosene lamp that we're using to illuminate our digital recording studio.
We're sitting in large, high-backed velour armchairs.
Yes, and I'm wearing
smoking pipes.
And I'm wearing a smoking jacket and a top hat.
Me too.
Yeah. But one of the beautiful things about kind of living the lifestyle, off-the-grid lifestyle, even though the HQ, the headquarters here at the field school is on the grid, is we're totally set up to be off the grid. So, you know, if you lose power, it's no big deal. We've got water. We can't lose our water system here. We've got hand pump wells. We've got composting toilet outhouses. We've got a variety of ways to cook. So we made a nice pot of tea on the alcohol stove. So, you know, one of the nice things about having those levels of resiliency built into your systems is, like, who cares if the power's out?
Who cares?
Yeah, I don't care. Just a little bit of current events here for our audience out there in podcast land. Coming up a week from now, July 19th to 21 in Columbia, Maine, the 9th annual Puckerbrush Primitive Gathering. If you are interested in bushcraft, primitive skills, traditional archery, survival, ancestral skills, handcrafts, you should put this event on your radar, and you should make every attempt to get out there. I still haven't ever made it to one of these, just because we always seem to be busy during the weeks that they have it in the summer. But a pretty good friend of mine, Tim Beal, has been involved with this event since the get-go, and real talented guy, teaches the canoe poling stuff down there. So you should make every attempt to get there. We're going to put a link to it in the show notes, but you can visit their website. Where is their website on here? It's on the back.
Just Google it. Puckerbrush Primitive Gathering.
Yeah, Puckerbrush Primitive Gathering. And
it's only $25 for the weekend. That's crazy.
Only $25 for the weekend, and that includes camping. And
nothing costs $25 for the weekend anymore.
They've got a tent set up where they're making food all the time and getting, so you can purchase food when you're there, so you don't even have to pack a ton of food to go down there. Columbia, Maine, way down east, not too far from Machias, Maine. So if you're familiar with the Maine coast, the down east Maine coast, in that general region. But great people, you should go. Other current events, we're near the tail end of week 4 of the summer 2024 Wilderness Bushcraft semester. And due to all the recent rain we had, we went out, just posted the video this morning, but we went out and had a great day on the water a couple of days ago, coming down a local stream, and it's like spring high water. The biggest difference between now and spring is everything's in flower. The grasses are all super tall, choking off some of the more narrow waterways. And we have, some nice little fun wilderness helpers with us in the form of deer flies and horse flies to make sure that we're covered up.
Love those guys.
I keep getting bit by these horse flies, and then, you don't feel it, and then they're biting you, and then you slap them, and it's like half a pint of blood in your hand and all over your leg, and it's your blood, not their blood. They're pretty rugged. They're pretty rough right now. And it always seems like the hotter it gets, like the more there's like a heat wave or real hot weather, like the deer flies are just worse then.
Sweating and itching.
Yeah. Welcome to northern Maine. If you're not freezing, you're itching.
Yeah.
So we've got that going for us. But the current course, the folks on this course, they're pretty much crushing it. Like, we're way ahead of schedule. People are really putting in the hours and knocking out the crafts, knocking out the academic work, knocking out the skills. So kudos to them. They're doing great as a group too. Everybody's kind of everybody's energy is bringing everybody else along with them. So they've got a great kind of group energy, and super proud of them. So let's transition right into our topic for the day, and what's the point of studying traditional skill sets, studying traditional cultures, studying bushcraft? And the terms change. The skill set hasn't changed since probably the Paleolithic era, but every couple of years the terms change because they get co-opted by the marketers. 1 year bushcraft was this new thing, and then a couple years later they had $700 bushcraft pants for sale. So that's what happens. And that usually is what precipitates changing of the terminology. But, what is the point?
Wait, so you won't be releasing a limited edition Jack Mounted Bushcraft
The
pants?
trousers. Trousers? It was pretty funny. We had a thing a couple of years ago. I won't name the company because, they're if you spend $700 on a pair of pants, they're probably pretty good. But we had the Jack Mountain Winter Expedition trousers, and they were for sale, and it was just... I run pretty hot temperature wise, so I'll just go get a real crappy $4 pair of sweatpants, and those are my Winter Expedition trousers. I'll wear wind pants over them, but that was the Jack Mountain Expedition trousers are for sale at like Martin's and other surplus places around the world right now.
Nice,
but but. To stick to our point,
yes.
What is the point?
What is the point? Yes. So we had a couple of things that we had thought of. So one was the aspect of resilience and practical skills.
Yeah. Example, case in point today with losing electricity. If your systems, your life systems, if you will, are built around not having outside inputs to make them run, you're just that much more resilient. You're that much more self-reliant. So today this whole area lost electricity, but like our toilet and sanitation system doesn't require electricity or running water. We made a big pot of tea on a little camp stove, alcohol stove, doesn't require electricity or, outside stuff. So just that idea about being that much more resilient, that's one offshoot of kind of living that lifestyle.
Absolutely. I'm going to go make a fire later, get a hot shower going, and do some laundry, and I'm not going to need electricity for any of that.
Yeah, it's great. Or, even if and electricity isn't necessarily bad, maybe you can generate it on site. We do that here, solar panels and whatnot, keeping the phones and other devices chugging along. Batteries, charging batteries, all those things. But that type of lifestyle makes you that much more resilient.
Absolutely. The next point that we had was kind of the philosophical reasons for doing this stuff.
So I'll make the claim, you guys have heard about the 1%, and usually they're pointing the finger at like super rich people and billionaires, but I'll make the claim that chronologically, our modern culture, we're 1%ers.
We are the 1%.
So if we look at the history of humans on the planet, it goes back a long way. When I was a kid, I remember being in school and them teaching us that it was only just a couple of thousand years ago when we emerged from caves, all wearing leopard print singlets and like,
which you still wear,
which I still do wear, and I'm gonna say that I wear it because I look good in it. Like, I don't know if I make that thing look good or it makes me look good, but we look good together. Since then, they've pushed back the dates of anatomically modern humans. I think currently we're somewhere around 350,000 years ago that the people who lived then, same as us, right? If they knew our language, their brains were the same size, like just same as us. If we knew each other's language, we'd probably just chat about what's going on. And they lived a vastly different lifestyle. And I think as archaeology becomes more... what's the word I'm looking for? Not skilled, but technologically competent. I think that date is going to be pushed back further and further and further. It's just harder to find. The longer you go back into the past, the harder it is to find the evidence. But so if we've been walking around for that long, 1% of 350,000 years is 3,500 years. So if we went back 3,500 years, that was basically when I was a little kid, what they taught us when we emerged from the caves. So it's drastically different in a few short years. And I'll make the claim that there have been there's probably been a lot more than three, but what come to mind to me is three enormous changes in how people live their lives. The first one, maybe it happened somewhere between 9,000 and 5,000 years ago, and that was the rise of agriculture. Before that, the evidence leads us to believe that we were mostly hunter-gatherer / fishing cultures. That agriculture dramatically changed how people lived on the planet. I'm going to say the second one is the Industrial Revolution. So 16 to 1800, somewhere in there, people went from living on small subsistence farms, and other people living further out probably still hunted and trapped or kept herds for most of their food and their lifestyle. That was a huge change, the agriculture, then the Industrial Revolution. And the third big one that we're still in the infancy of was the rise of the internet. Like, that's dramatically changed how people have lived. And I think that, we're 0.00001% of humans that have ever walked the planet, based on that timeline, live life like we do. So that makes us probably we're much more elite than the 1%. We're the 0.0. Let me adjust my monocle.
Yeah, but if you think about that, we are disconnected, therefore, from over 99% of our existence and what we have evolved doing.
Agreed wholeheartedly. I think if you went back, if either of us went back in our family line and met somebody from 200 generations ago, and just had to sit down, let's have tea. First of all, they'd go nuts because they'd probably never had caffeine before. But, and just interview them and, hey, what's important to you? What are the best things in your life? And it would probably be community, family, a real visceral contact with the natural world. And then, if you ask somebody, if I asked you, right now, living in 2024, it would probably be the same thing, but we're so disconnected from those.
From the basics, yeah. And I think that has led to a lot of modern people feeling incredibly alienated and kind of... There's this term species loneliness. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So it's this idea that humanity as a species, because we have separated ourselves so far from the rest of nature, we as a species have this kind of loneliness, whereas the trees and the animals that exist in their wild state have continued to be a part of the ecosystems that they evolved in.
I'm not sure what you're getting at, but I've fed so many bugs off of my body in the last a couple of weeks that I don't really feel disconnected.
Okay.
I feel like my DNA is now a part of those deer flies, horse flies, mosquitoes, black flies, no-see-ums.
Yeah. I mean, you're relinking with the food web there.
Exactly.
Totally.
I get where you're going though, and I think it's probably true that even though the promise of the internet age is like we're connected now to the global, but I think the actual result is that we're disconnected from everybody local to us, and we've never actually connected to anybody that's not local to us. So it seems like a big bait and switch, the whole internet community thing.
Yeah, there's the promise of total connection, but then most people's actual experience of it is feeling surprisingly disconnected.
Yeah.
And I think along with that comes with this sense of kind of nature illiteracy. People don't know even the names of the birds, plants, trees, fungi, rocks around them. And it's like not knowing your ABCs, right?
So I tell the folks on like the 9-week semester courses, we're going to be intensely studying all these things. But ultimately, if we grew up in like a traditional culture, a land-based culture, everything that we're going to learn here, including all the advanced stuff, you would have learned by the time you were like 7 or 8 years old as a little kid. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like I'll make the claim pretty regularly that the people walking the planet today are the dumbest people that have ever walked the planet with regards to natural history, with regards to looking at the night sky and knowing the lore of the night sky, with regards to knowing the plants in your region, with regards to the tracks, with regards to really everything regarding the natural world. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that we're dumber per se than people in the past. Modern people, we have a lot of hubris as a culture where we think that every other previous generation of humanity was just like an imperfect attempt to try to be us here at the top of the technological pyramid, which I definitely don't believe is the case.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with you that we're dumber. I think that where we've directed our intelligence to be hyper specialized, right? So people are really smart, but on a very narrow band of things. And I think that most people historically and prehistorically were more of generalists. And that's kind of something that I've kept throughout my life, is this huge curiosity to have a general skill set and knowledge of a wide variety of things, to be able to cook and find food in the forest and be able to paddle a canoe. Like this kind of general skill set is what is often lacking.
Let me qualify the dumbest generation, because I think, that did sound kind of bad. But I think all people have the same potential for knowledge and intelligence, but it's I think it's usually culturally chosen where the culture chooses to direct that. Mm-hmm. So if the culture says, we're not interested in knowing every plant that grows in your yard, and if people have eaten it or used it for medicine in the past, then people probably won't value that and won't learn it. And I think that's where we're at. Whereas, we have a culture that values, in modern American culture, we value money. So if it can't make you money, it can't be that valuable. So I think that's what I meant when I said we're the dumbest. Yeah. The least knowledgeable about the natural history and things that you can't translate directly into money. Yeah.
And basic existence skills, right?
Yeah, if you live your life with all you've got is a smartphone and a credit card, you can basically get if you got enough money in the account, like have your food delivered, have anything you need delivered. You just that's all you need. Whereas compare a modern person in a high rise in one of the large urban areas with a Stone Age hunter back in the day. Basically, there's like 700 middlemen in the modern world that's going to focused on getting you everything you need. And if you were dropped off somewhere, and maybe this is a benefit of some of the kind of reality TV shows where modern people get to have that experience, and they're always like, man, that was really hard, or I got to quit, this is too much.
Yeah, and as our modern technological civilization gets more and more to that state where you don't need to do anything. You could literally stay in a high-rise apartment, like you're saying, work on your computer online, order all your food from Uber Eats. You don't have to do the dishes or cook or even have a body.
What was the movie about was it WALL-E? Like all the humans were like living in a spaceship. And they couldn't even walk. They were just like floating around.
Totally. So it's kind of like, you don't have to do any of the human things, but then are you really a human at that point? Like,
tough to tell.
Yeah. So bringing it back to the outdoor skills, bushcraft, ancestral skills, we don't need to forage mushrooms or light fires in order to survive anymore. maybe if you're out in the wilderness, you do, but you can live an entire lifetime. You can probably even be happy without doing any of the stuff that we have dedicated our lives to, but you can do it by choice. And I think that both of us believe that doing it by choice is going to have some huge benefits. There's a real reason.
Yeah, absolutely. For me personally, it's like I just wouldn't want to live any other way. Like I find it personally pleasurable. I get bored. If I'm just sitting around, I get crazy bored, and I want to move my body. I want to be out like pushing a canoe around in the water. I want to be dragging a sled with snowshoes. I want to be exploring the landscape and breathing the clean air and physically exercising.
Yeah.
Too much idleness to me is like, oh, it's awful. I really don't like it.
Yeah, and there's all those studies out of Japan, like with the forest bathing stuff. Have you heard of that?
I've heard the term, but I don't know much about it.
I mean, it's just kind of a scientific validation that literally being outside in the forest heals you. It makes you healthier. It can help fight off diseases and everything. And I feel that in a subjective sense. Like, the more time I spend outside, the more I feel a sense of well-being, and I feel physically healthier, mentally healthier, emotionally healthier, just by being out there. And I think it's just like the benefits that come from doing basic human stuff.
Yeah, agreed. That maybe we weren't supposed to just be staring at smartphones and ordering
Probably
food.
not.
And it seems like the people that's all they do, they don't seem to be that overly happy. Obviously, subjective, anecdotal evidence there, but that angst, that sort of disconnect we have, I think that's at least a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But other philosophical reasons for engaging in that sort of lifestyle. For me, the older I get, it just I don't know if any other way is even an option.
It's the only life you've ever known.
It's the only life I've ever known.
Yeah. So maybe we can move on a little bit to like the vocation, the career, the professional side of this. I think people might be curious about that.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for a long ass time.
Yeah, full time. This is year 25. That's.
I'm in year 1 of doing this professionally, so.
Well, I think it's interesting to hear the two perspectives.
Totally.
And things have definitely changed a lot since I started doing this. And to be honest, like, I'm definitely not current. I don't really know who's in this industry and what they're doing. Because again, like, I don't leave Masardis very often. So it's kind of cool being up here. We stick this part of the U.S., this part of Maine, Aroostook County, sticks up into Canada. We're surrounded by Canada on 3 sides. So I don't even really consider myself that I live in America. When people ask me, I'm like, oh, I live in the county. I don't live in America. If I got to go to America, I got to go all the way down south to Bangor. And once I get south of Route 2, then I'm down in America. But up here, it's the county. So I even say if I'm going down there, I'm like, yeah, I'm going down south to America, or I'm going to South America. So... And I haven't been to South America in a while.
So, getting back to our topic here. I'm wondering, what has kept you with doing this for 25 years?
That's a good question.
How have you made it work, and why have you stuck with it?
I think for me, like, when we started doing this, here's the quick version of the story. After finishing an undergraduate degree, bought a $500 travel trailer, moved to Alaska, spent a year there, washing windows with a friend of mine, going fishing, doing a lot of stuff. Realized I wanted to live rurally, but I didn't want to keep washing windows or pound nails or anything. There's anything wrong with that. I wasn't super interested in it. So went back to school, got a master's degree in education, was able to do that for like hardly any money, and like I think 13 months it took me back then. I don't know what it is now. It would probably be dramatically different. And then when I finished that, young, single, no dependents, had met a couple of guys that were very influential on me. Main guide named Raymond Rizzi was a huge mentor to me, and then Canadian, some of you guys have heard of, Morris Kahansky. And both of these two gentlemen had made a career working outside, kind of doing what I wanted to do. guiding trips, teaching courses and things. So I said, yeah, maybe I'll try that for a year and then get my regular job. And now it's 25 years later, and I probably couldn't get trying to.
Very short resume.
Yeah, very short resume. But the thing that really allowed us to do it full time, my friend Dan Fisher and I were teaching courses and running trips together for a year. And then we came up with the idea for the long course, to do a semester course. And then, like you and I were talking about earlier before we hit the record button, Jesse, the beauty of the running longer programs is that you just have to kind of get fewer people each year interested in order to make a living at it. And that was what allowed me to make a living at it. And then, over time, it grew. It's grown a little bit every year. And that's, luckily for me, has given me that kind of longevity in this business.
That's great.
Yeah. I don't have a whole lot of regrets about it. So... and I still enjoy getting up and doing it every day. And I think if you can do that and, do it with a smile on, it's great.
Yeah, I think that for me, starting my business, it's that quality of life is one of the big motivators. The flexibility to, plan canoe trips into my year and to be able to spend significant amount of time outside, and the freedom to, come up with an idea for my own course, something that I would want to take, and then put that out into the world and see, oh, people are into this, and I genuinely have something to contribute. It feels like I can have a concrete impact, even if it's pretty small, but if I can, get small numbers of people to feel more connected to nature and to their human nature, bring a little bit more joy and happiness into the world, then I think that that's a beautiful vocation, beautiful career to pursue.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, and I'm based in the city at the moment. Like, I give my classes outside of the city, but I think that there is this interesting position of being kind of in the heart of the beast and bringing people from that world that, probably a lot of people that work office jobs and very urban lifestyle, bringing them outside of that world that they know and being kind of an ambassador and introducing them to the woods life and the skills of the outdoors, bushcraft, and all of this.
Yeah, and a lot of modern people, because they maybe weren't raised rurally, it's scary. It's an unknown. And I always have thought that knowledge is an antidote to fear, right? Just like action is an antidote to anxiety, knowledge is an antidote to fear. So, if we can learn something, take an action, then we're getting rid of both fear and anxiety. That's, if you can do that for somebody, that's great. And especially if it's not gonna, you're not going to a doctor and getting pharmaceutical drugs to achieve that end. You're just going and experiencing the natural world. And it sounds kind of a little bit foo-foo, but really, if you go back to that 99% of our ancestors lived a certain way, we live differently. Maybe we try to reintroduce them to that more human life ways, and it really resonates with people.
Absolutely. And as an instructor, like, obviously we have to have a certain skill set to do this stuff, but I often think that we are just kind of setting people up so that nature can do the teaching, right? Getting people into the forest to experience the seasons, the weather, the plants and animals. That's really the content that does a lot of the teaching, and it's our job to basically create situations where people can be in a state that's going to help them learn and not just have, an adverse experience of freezing their butt off or burning themselves or
being totally accosted by horseflies.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's my experience.
Yeah.
There's an old kind of very popular saying in outdoor education was "Let the mountains speak for themselves."
Yeah.
So you get the people out there and show them a few things so they can be there comfortably and feel safe. And then when they have that experience, then, the mountains or the woods or the ocean or whatever you're interacting with can speak for itself. And I think there's a lot of power there.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines, my good friend Ben McNutt from the UK, I think it was 2009, it might have been 2008, but we're riding in my old, horrible Dodge van across northern Quebec. We were on our way up to Uje, and we were having a similar discussion. We were having, what's the point? What do you, and I think we were phrasing it on that discussion like, okay, so you spent a significant amount of time and energy studying bushcraft or traditional skills or whatever you want to call it. What do you do with it? What's the point? Why bother? And he had the line that it allows you to experience, even just for one moment, what it actually means to be a human being. And obviously this is 15 years later, and that line still resonates with me. I still think like, wow, he nailed it right on the head there. Because I do think that's it. I don't think in our modern world, we're not asked to be human beings so much. We're asked to be consumers. We're asked to be, customers. We're asked to be this, we're asked to be that, but not about looking at the entirety of the human experience and experiencing that, touching that. Like that's sort of outside the realm of what the modern world asks us to be.
We are animals, and our nervous systems evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to expect a certain type of stimulus that we no longer get. So no wonder people are depressed.
Yeah. I make the claim, though, that we didn't evolve from apes. We're still apes.
Oh, yeah.
But we have cell phones now.
Apes with cell phones.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're kind of dangerous because of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway. We got anything else worthwhile to discuss here today? Or
it's beautiful work.
It is beautiful work. And I also said to you before we were recording, you said, why do you keep doing it? And I was like, well, nobody else would hire me at this point. If you work for yourself long enough, you're unemployable. So there's that.
There's that.
Well, thank you for joining us on this exploration down the philosophical rabbit hole.
Yep.
And we'll hit you back again soon with another one. Have a great day.
Take care.
You have been listening to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast. For more information on our professional wilderness guide training programs that are college accredited and GI Bill approved, visit us on the web at jackmtn.com.